A backpacking trip can be ruined by one little thing. Usually that one little thing is a mosquito in your tent at night. Hey guys, welcome back. Chris with Wallowa Hikes. If you're new here, this channel is for new backpackers. Today we're going to talk about something you just can't control being out in the woods, and that is bugs. But you can do a few things to alleviate the impact they have on you, so let's get right into this. So no backpacking trip is complete without mosquitoes, and you're going to run into them out there, and they can be a real nuisance and affect your entire day. So how do you avoid mosquitoes? For the most part, you're not going to avoid them at all, but there are a few things you can keep in mind if you want to have a little less impact on your trip with that mosquito population. First and foremost, mosquitoes are most prevalent after the snow is melting and they start to hatch and swarm. So generally in the northern hemisphere in the springtime, you're going to have more mosquitoes. And as the summer goes on and gets hotter, you're going to find generally there's fewer mosquitoes. So if you really don't want to deal with them at all, better to go late August, and you're going to have fewer mosquitoes. But if you are going to go backpacking when there are a lot of mosquitoes out there, there's a few things you can do. There are bug repellents out there that work. And for years and years, the gold standard has been DEET. So DEET is very effective with repelling mosquitoes, but over the years, there's been some concerns with health issues. It's also very sticky and gross on your skin. It just doesn't feel very good. And if you get DEET on your equipment, it can eat through some of those nylons and things like that. So it kind of comes with some negatives if you're using DEET. Now, another option for a repellent is picaridin. Now, picaridin is generally just as effective as DEET, but it doesn't have that nasty feel to it, and it's not going to ruin your equipment. You can get that in a spray, or I use wipes. They're lighter, and so far they've been pretty effective for me. So having that kind of a repellent, not a bad idea. Now, if you want to use technology, you can get something like a thermocell. Now, they have a handheld device that you can take with you. Now, that's going to add some weight, but from what I've heard, and I haven't tried these myself, but the feedback has been that they're pretty effective. So if you absolutely want to create a perimeter where the mosquitoes are not going to be attacking you, thermocell might be a way to go as well. And a third chemical you can use to repel mosquitoes and ticks and some other bugs is permethrin. Now, permethrin is generally sprayed onto your clothing and your gear. It's not going to destroy your gear like DEET will, but it's going to not only repel those insects, but it kills them on contact. So what you do is you take a bottle of this, take it outside, you spray the clothing you're going to wear, you spray your tent, you spray whatever, socks, shoes. And so this is going to be effective in killing those bugs and keeping them away from you. I recently used that on the Rogue River Trail, and it actually was very effective. So there's a thought for you. If you have cats, like Captain Oates, you want to spray this somewhere where they're not going to be, because this is bad for them. It can hurt them. It's poisonous to cats. So spray it outside when your cat's not around and give that some time to dry. And once it's dry, it's not going to be harmful to the cats, but it's still going to keep those bugs away and kill them on contact. So mosquitoes, they lay their eggs in and around standing water. So ponds, lakes, things like that, those are going to be pretty heavy with mosquitoes. So when you're looking for a campsite, always a good idea to camp around water, but running water is going to be a better choice if you're trying to avoid mosquitoes. But if you're camping at a lake, camp away from the water a bit, because closer to the water, you're going to encounter a lot more mosquitoes, a lot thicker swarms, And you'll also find this when you're filtering water. It can be very annoying taking the time to fill up that water when the mosquitoes know you're right next to their home. So just be mindful, standing water, more mosquitoes. So camping in a place like, well, this, it's beautiful. That's obviously too close to the water just for leave no trace, but also mosquitoes, that's just going to be a terrible choice. It's a lot better to be away from the water and in an area where you can get a little bit of airflow, where you can get a nice breeze, because another thing that will keep mosquitoes away is a good brisk breeze. Now, that doesn't mean you should be camped on top of a ridge where you're going to have ripping winds, but it's something to think about because it doesn't take a lot of wind to keep those mosquitoes away from you. And studies have found that colors actually affect if mosquitoes are going to be attracted more or less. And so just keep in mind, mosquitoes are attracted to dark colors. So if you're out there wearing black, you're probably going to run into a few more mosquitoes. So light colors, whites, light grays, that tends not to attract them as much. So it's worth a try. And science says that what attracts mosquitoes to people is carbon dioxide. So if you absolutely want to avoid mosquitoes while you're out backpacking, try not breathing. Yeah. And if you're backpacking while there's tons of mosquitoes out there, yeah, repellents are great, but you might have to step it up a little bit. So consider bringing a head net. So these will go over your head. It's definitely helpful to wear a baseball cap so that it keeps it away from your face. Keep in mind, if it's right up against your skin, mosquitoes can still bite you, and that goes for hammocks as well. So just try to keep that netting away from your skin. And while mosquitoes are probably the biggest nuisance out there, they're not the only bugs that live in the wilderness. And depending on where you are, you might encounter different bugs. Here in the United States, we have something we call no-see-ums. These are probably the same or similar to the midges that they have over in the UK. Scotland is notorious for midges. So if you want to do the West Highland way, it's a good idea to do it before May or after September, because from what I hear, the midges are horrible. Just swarms of these tiny little things. And mosquito netting is not going to keep those out because they're so small. So what you want is a no-see-um mesh or midge mesh, I guess they might call it over there in the UK. Midge mesh, I like that. We should patent that. So these guys are just annoyances. They're not going to hurt you, but in swarms, it can just drive you crazy, get in your nose and things like that. Here in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm at, they're not a big problem. We see them, but we're more concerned with the damn mosquitoes. The partner to the mosquito is the horsefly or the deer fly. So what is that? They look like a common housefly, but they're bigger and they're evil. These big flies, they're going to be attracted to your sweat while you're walking around, and of course that basically will keep you motivated to keep moving, but they can be very annoying. What's worse about these big black flies is that they will bite and they hurt. And the reason they bite is to break the skin so they can then lap up your blood. Like I said, just evil, evil creatures. So you can try some of those repellents, bug nets. Just know they're going to be an annoyance out there as well. They are definitely not as prevalent as mosquitoes, but just be aware. You're going to run into those out there. And if you don't know that they bite, the first time it happens, it's really unpleasant and surprising. Of course, there are bees in the wilderness and hornets and yellowjackets and things like that. Now, if you are allergic to bees, bring an EpiPen with you, because you don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere, get stung by a bee with a bee allergy, go into anaphylactic shock miles from the trailhead. So bring that with you. Of course, it's fairly rare that people get stung by bees in the wilderness, but it happens. Of those three, bees, wasps, yellowjackets, yellowjackets tend to be the most annoying in that they are attracted to food and meat especially. I have found that in certain campgrounds, yellowjackets know there's going to be food there, so they kind of hang out, and they can be very annoying. So as far as those go, they tend to be attracted to bright colors, yellows and whites. Kind of makes it hard to choose what to wear if white keeps mosquitoes away, but attracts yellowjackets. So just know that bright colors, they may mistake you for a flower and come and land on you. We also have insects that crawl on the ground. We don't notice those as much because they're not flying around our head while we're hiking, but one thing you will notice with the flying insects is they're less of a problem if you keep moving. So in the enchantments, going up Asgard Pass, which was steep and rugged, I knew I was probably going to take a lot of breaks because I'm older and out of shape, and I didn't take a lot of breaks because from the lake I had a bunch of mosquitoes that followed me pretty much all the way to the top, and they kept me going. So I guess mosquitoes do have one aspect that isn't 100% negative, and that's they can keep you motivated to keep moving. All right, but back to the crawling bugs. So one of the major bugs on the ground that you might encounter out there are ants. So ants, as you all know already, are attracted to food. So it's good to have a clean camp, not leave a bunch of crumbs. It's a good idea to not eat right next to your tent. So if you are leaving crumbs and ants are attracted to that, they're not gonna just come right up to your doorstep. What I encounter most out there are carpenter ants. Now, carpenter ants, they're attracted to dead, rotting wood. So often you're gonna find those on dead logs. So when you're camping, be aware, take a look around before you pitch that tent. If there are any dead logs, kind of look around for the bigger black ants. Now, they're mostly a nuisance, but if there's a lot of them, they can be pretty annoying, especially if you're trying to eat. So just be aware they exist. Now, probably the most horrifying bug out there is the tick. Now, ticks lay in wait on grass and bushes along trails, waiting for a mammal to come along so they can jump off or just let go and grab onto that mammal. Deer are notorious for having ticks because they go through the brush and the ticks just wait for them to come along. The ticks will then wander around looking for a nice warm place so they can latch on, bite the mammal, and drink blood until they're engorged. They are disgusting creatures. Now, ticks are a little more prevalent during the springtime and through the summer. If you're hiking through a lot of brush, be a little more mindful to check yourself at night to see if there are any ticks on you. If you wear light clothing, you're going to notice them. If you want to avoid them getting on you, tuck those pants into those socks, tuck your shirt into your pants, and if you use permethrin on that clothing, any ticks get on you, it's going to kill them. So that's a great thing. Places to check for ticks when you're in your tent at night: along the hairline back here, down there. They're going to look for a warm place, and they usually go to places with hair so they can hide and do their thing. But a tick can bite you anywhere, and so if you're hiking with a partner, you can get real cozy by checking each other for ticks. Now, if you discover a tick that has bit you, you should remove it. And you may find all kinds of things on the internet talking about the best way to do this, and it includes all kinds of weird things about smothering them or lighting them on fire. The best way to remove a tick is to use tweezers, grab the tick as close to your skin as possible, and pull straight out. After doing so, clean the area with soap and water. And if you have any alcohol with you, like rubbing alcohol, good idea to do that so we're avoiding bacteria. Now, most people don't have tweezers on their backpacking gear list, but if you get one of the small Swiss Army knives that has tweezers, that's going to help out a lot. especially if you're around ticks. And one thing that can be really annoying is being in your tent at night with a mosquito. One little creature like that can make your whole night miserable. So when you're setting up your tent, make sure that the zipper is closed. Don't give them an opportunity to get in there before you go to bed. And before you crawl into that sleeping bag, just take a check around. It's a lot easier to get rid of the mosquito that might have come into your tent before you nestle down to sleep. And in the morning, before you put on those boots or trail runners, take a look inside, shake them out, because something might have crawled in during the night and you don't want to be surprised by finding it with your foot. So just make sure you do a little check. So that's a quick overview of insects. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.